I don't have a lot of time. I have to jump into a work call. I'm thinking about buying a car. So, a little backstory. I started to learn to drive when I was about 16 or 17. It's a pretty normal thing to do in the UK. And then I broke my arm. I just didn't continue with the lessons anymore. And honestly, I wasn't really interested in driving. I had other things on my mind. I was making films and music, playing video games, studying graphic design and trying to make money. And anytime I needed to get anywhere, there were buses and trains and the London Underground. And in the worst case scenario, if I needed to go somewhere that required a car, I had friends who were driving anyway. And so we'd go together and make a trip of it. And then when I started to work in London, it's a pretty easy place to get around. Like, we have arguably the best subway system in the world. Being a driver was never really part of my identity. Morning. We are going out. So I'm in my 30s now. Life is good. I have a nice home. My career is going well. I have a beautiful wife. And hi, if you're new here, I'm Sid. I'm making stuff. Now, I spend 80% of my time in my home office. I work from home. And only rarely do I need to go outside to actually do something. On occasions, I fly out for work in the States or Europe, and other than that, everything we need is basically at our doorstep. And now that Bailey and I want to do more things creatively, it means that we kind of need to get out of the house. And what better place than where we live? London. Okay, so London is an amazing city, but it gives me a lot of anxiety. I've narrowed it down to two real reasons as to what stops me being comfortable with getting out of the house and feeling myself or the environment. Firstly, London is a busy city, and busy cities mean a lot of people. And some of those people unfortunately like to steal your stuff. I've personally witnessed strangers and friends have their personal belongings ripped from their hands on more than one occasion. It really makes me uneasy to pursue this. And the second reason is time. I'm trying to be more productive and efficient, which means I need to pursue this hobby outside of my working hours. Sadly for me, there's not a lot of those. So when there's delays and strikes on public transportation, lugging around heavy equipment becomes a chore. It becomes exhausting and uncomfortable, and it stops being fun. So naturally, the logical solution here is to get a car. Having access to a car means I can get to places faster, on my own time, go to places that aren't centers of dangerous activity or next to a train station, and then the only dependency is myself. Let's talk about cars for a second. I keep telling myself that all I really want is a little eco box, something to get me from A to B. Your Ford Fiesta, your Fiat 500, something cheap, cheerful. It's a mode of transportation, right? If we're going to be honest, I don't want that. If I wanted one, I would have got one already. What I actually wanted, if we think about it, is a story. Basically something that made sense about where I am in life. The car, it's not transportation, it's a reflection. So, I've been reading this book. It's called Psychocybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon. Throughout his career, he came to discover that he had two types of patients. Both of them would receive similar kind of surgeries. One type would feel an immediate boost in confidence. Their entire lives transformed. And then he had the other type of patient who, regardless of the amount of change that happened to them, they still felt ugly and limited and insecure. And in the book, the surgery changed their appearance, but not their self-image. He posits that our self-image determines our reality much more than our actual circumstances. So When I'm browsing for cars, I'm not thinking about transformation. I'm thinking about perception, how I'm going to be seen by my friends, my family, my wife, how I see myself, and I guess more importantly, how I want to be seen. So, as I said earlier, cars aren't just transport. They're reflections. Each one of them says something. Who we think we are, who we're pretending to be. We kind of project ourselves onto metal. Loud cars for loud people, quiet cars for those of us who are trying to be a bit more subtle. And that's probably why I kept scrolling when I'm looking for something. I wasn't searching for a car. I was searching for myself. I apologize. I'm going to gush about this car. Technically, it's not a car, it's a book about a car, and I know you're wondering why did he buy a book about a car that he doesn't own? And I also own books about logos I didn't design. But here we go. If you want to skip ahead, by all means. But this is the Polestar 4. Look at this thing. I can only describe it in one word, and that's beautiful. It's not loud or aggressive like your typical sports car. It doesn't have old man energy like a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce. And it doesn't have that BMW douchebag energy either. It's electric, powerful, understated. Being a designer myself, this feels like a win. A car designed by designers, not led by engineers or stakeholders. There's this series on YouTube that Polestar made developing the precept, effectively their concept for their design language and vision for the brand and their future cars. I look at this car and I think about the kind of person that drives one of these. I think of someone that matches this energy, elegant, sophisticated, cool, stylish. I want to be the kind of person that drives a Polestar 4. The thing is though, I look at this imagined person that drives something like the Polestar 4. Then I look at myself. I'm someone that spends pretty much 80% of my day in front of a desk, working long hours, rarely goes out. Everything that I need or everything that I want is basically within arm's reach. I have a nice, cozy life. The kind of person that's driving something like this, they're reaching for infinity and beyond in this spaceship. I don't think I'm that person at all. In the book, Maxwell Maltz noticed that lottery winners within a few years would kind of end up being in the exact position they were before they won. People that went through a disaster of some kind and losing everything, within a few years they would come back to their previous level of success. He referred to this as a mental thermostat, basically a self-image that regulates not just by what we think we deserve, but what feels right for us. For instance, if you step outside of your comfort zone, your unconscious mind will work overtime to bring you back. I think back to the time I got my first pay raise. I was at this job. This is my first kind of like real job. And it was laughably low paid, but I got a raise after about like a year. And because I was so lowly paid, I had to utilize every penny that I had in order to get by. Pretty much about 50% of my income would go to transportation to get into the city and get to work and do what I needed to do. And the rest would be basically on food and bills, and every penny was accounted for. And I used basically everything. At the end of every month, there was zero until I got paid. And then I got a pay raise, and there was a small bump, enough that it'd make a difference. But with that bump, I was using, again, every penny. And the same pattern occurred every time I got a raise. So I went into a new job and I basically doubled my income. And doubling my income should have meant that I had, disposable income to play with. But because my thermostat was the way that I was in the mindset that I needed to use every penny that I had. And so even though I was making double, I ended up with nothing at the end of every month. That's something that I needed to learn to grow out of and come to the realization that I was not in a survival mode anymore. I did not need to be spending 100% of my income to survive. I think everyone has at some point in their lives sabotaged themselves when things were going well. I do it in my creative life all the time. I make a great video and I feel unstoppable, and then I disappear for months, sometimes years. Not because I stopped caring, but because somewhere inside it didn't yet match who I believed I was. My mental thermostat was correcting course. It's not sabotage, it's familiarity pretending to be safety. You can't just think your way into being creative, or confident, or brave. If your self-image hasn't changed, your mind will gently, or maybe aggressively, correct you back to where it feels safe, to whatever feels like you. It's actually been months since I started this film. Actually, if you watch any of the things, you'll probably see like the calendar says like June or July. It's currently October right now. And every time I sit down to finish it, I look different. My beard has changed. My hair has changed. I've actually gained and lost a lot of weight in this period of time. It's kind of weird seeing all these different versions of myself being stitched together across time. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the film isn't late. Maybe it's documenting how slow identity actually moves. The original premise of the film was that I was going to be talking about how I don't live up to the idea of this particular car that I love, and how even though, as much as I want the Polestar 4, I'm not the kind of guy that gets a Polestar 4. The reality is I actually have a Polestar 4. It's actually outside. I'll show you. As you can see, I've got the car now. I've had it for a few months, and it's amazing. Lily and I have done a few road trips in this already. I think it has the wife's seal of approval. I don't know if anyone else gets this same feeling when they get something that they really, really want. Because I kind of like wake up sometimes, like whether like I'm working or if I'm like, oh, I need to go do something, then I think to myself, oh yeah, I have a car. And not just a car, I have my dream car. That's nuts. So yeah, it's wild. It's just like, I'm like, whoa. Anyway, let's get back to the topic of self-image and the mental thermostat. What's wild to me is that Maxwell Maltz's findings were that these automatic responses came from learned behaviors from when we were 6 or 7 years old, based entirely on things that happened to us, not something that we chose. Not to get too deep, if I think back to that period of time with my parents, friends, teachers even, yeah, I can pinpoint where my automatic responses come from. Yeah, in the book, he says that your brain can't tell the difference between an actual lived experience and a vividly imagined one. He found that athletes who mentally rehearsed their performances improved almost as much as those who physically trained. Their bodies would be learning through simulation. And he found that you could do the same with life. Maybe making this film was my rehearsal, a way of practicing to become the person that I want to be, someone that does this and making cool content on the internet and being creative. And each version that you see of me on screen is just another one of these repetitions that I'm trying to enforce into this new self-image that I'm trying to build. I'm gonna get a little deeper. I apologize. Here's what I'm afraid of. I'm scared of becoming the kind of person that says they're gonna do something, and instead of just doing the thing, I've said to myself and posted publicly quite a few times about, hey, I'm thinking I'm back, and then I don't follow through. It bothers me because I built this channel to 50,000 subscribers or so, and those are all people who liked my content enough that they wanted to see more because they loved and trusted the perspective on things, and I want to honor that. And even though I don't really have the best self-image for myself, I have built a pretty good life for Lily and I, and I'm proud of that. I'm happy. I want to fix my self-image so that I can apply that same determination that I put towards being a good husband into my creative endeavors. I don't know. Maybe you can't fix a self-image. Maybe I just have to kind of grow into it one creative act at a time. Thank you for watching. Sorry it's taken so long to get to this. I genuinely thought that this was going to be a story about me getting my first car when I first wrote this. Yeah, it is. It's just evolved over time. So again, thank you for watching. Who knows what happens next? You know the drill. Like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to. The links to Substack and Instagram and everything else is downstairs. I will see you on the next one. Stay sexy.